Palmer's going to show us aspects of the watershed. So how big is the watershed?
It starts up just below Comox Lake. It's not connected to Comox Lake, but it's fed by a lot of springs in the very large headwaters area, up just west of the Island Highway, the Inland Island Highway. Altogether, there's about around 23 kilometers of main stem, and adding up all the tributaries in the headwaters. We're wanting to highlight the importance of this watershed, and also the importance of the headwaters area to making the whole system as productive as it is.
One of the impressive things with Morrison Creek is because it's got good headwaters, reliable, cool flows, we have the fish runs and the numbers of different species such that when the Puntledge hatchery started up, Morrison Creek was actually able to supply some of the seed salmon to start their stocks.
Right now we're down at the confluence of where Morrison Creek joins the Puntledge River in Puntledge Park. I think most people in the valley are familiar with that popular swimming hole in the Puntledge River. So Morrison Creek has all the species of salmon except for sockeye. So we have lots of coho, chum, pinks, what else do we have? The odd chinook, and we have rainbow and cutthroat trout as well. We have 3 different species of lamprey that we get in Morrison Creek. One is anadromous. It has part of its life cycle in the ocean. One of them is only found in Morrison Creek. It's not anywhere else in the world. The Morrison Creek Streamkeepers is a group of residents who are dedicated to preserving and protecting the watershed of Morrison Creek.
I'm removing some periwinkle. It's one of the invasive species that people plant in their yards and that gets away. And being an invasive species, that means that most of the local animals don't like to eat it. They get hungry. The native plants get choked out, so then there's no more of them.
Ever since 2002, we've had a fish counting fence that we operate during the spring. This year we got 11,000 coho smolts and around 172,000 chum. And a couple of hundred rainbow and cutthroat trout in there as well. This is where the fish that are returning to spawn in the fall come up. A lot of people like to walk along the banks of the creek and watch the fish returning, and some of them are going all the way up to the headwaters of Morrison Creek. There's a lot of traffic in Morrison Creek and in salmon.
So is there a skeleton that you want to talk about? A salmon skeleton. And it's stuck on the beaver dam there, isn't it?
When it was flooded, it came up there and then it can't go back down.
And how might that be good for other salmon? Maybe the nutrients from that carcass is going to go back into the system and grow food for the young salmon? Yeah, it stinks still, doesn't it? You can smell it. So the beaver dams are just one example of the diversity of habitats that can be created in the Morrison Creek system. This is a beaver dam here, and it's creating really nice pool habitat for young coho to live in, and it's also trapping materials upstream of it, including salmon carcasses, which decay, and the nutrients from those carcasses go back into the system.
One down there and another up there. And
So what is it?
salmon.
Here.
One is there. Three.
This area is where Puntledge Elementary and Lake Trail School are. This is Morrison Park, a very popular place for people to walk their dogs and get some recreation and see some wildlife. The Morrison Creek lamprey, obviously it only lives in Morrison Creek. There's some very specific sorts of habitat that it requires. For spawning, it likes areas where the quiet, muddy, like wetland areas downstream, where the juveniles or the amicetes can go and burrow in the soft sediment and spend several years living in the soft sediment.
What's the status of the Morrison Creek lamprey right now?
The Morrison Creek lamprey is on the endangered species list here, mostly because it only lives in one place.
What does that mean to be on the endangered species list?
Well, it means it's a very significant species in terms of all of Canada. There's also some protections that come into play from the Federal Species at Risk Act. The species and its habitat are protected.
How important are the headwaters to the survival of the Morrison Creek lamprey?
They're vital to the survival of the lamprey and all the rest of the species of fish that we have in the creek as well. Well, first of all, it's a place where the lamprey spawn, as do some of our salmonid species, and also they are vital to keeping the creek flowing in the dry months of the summer and tempering the flood events that would otherwise happen if the headwaters weren't storing big rain events and releasing it slowly.
What are the Morrison Creek Streamkeepers going to do to monitor the health of the headwaters, or what would you like to do to monitor the health of the headwaters?
Well, just continue with our flow monitoring and water monitoring. Monitoring for the survival of the vegetation in the area. It's very, very important that the wetlands not be disturbed and that the vegetation along the in and around the stream be preserved.